Hello everyone, welcome back to Doing Bart Things, and today we're going to get my review in on Diablo 4. Now, uh, this basically is after 50 levels of the game. I'm level 56 now, but I started thinking about doing a review around level 50. Level 50 is kind of where the game itself changes from your opening talent tree build game to where you get into the Paragon level. So you've essentially gotten into the in-game part, or sort of towards the in-game. And I thought I would just get my thoughts in about it. About the experience of the game itself so far. What I think of it. There's some things I really like. There's some things I don't like. It's a bit of a mixed bag. That said, I am actually overall, as a too long didn't read version, I'm fairly pleased with it. I think this is going to be, unfortunately, a work in progress, as a lot of video games are nowadays, which is really frustrating. It's not right, but it sort of is what it is at the moment. Software development in general. So, here it is. Here are my 5 takeaways. I'm just going to keep it 5, because if you use 5 in the title, or if you say 5 steps or 5 takeaways or 5 5 keys to your ultimate success, as someone who talks a lot, you do something like that, and it seems like the YouTube algorithm likes it slightly more. Not that that matters for me. I've got 32 subscribers, I think, at the time of making this. We're super budget, low rent, as it were, and this is not any different. This is another low rent production brought to you from the kitchen. And I'm not going to spare you guys any more of this. I'm going to give you a quick disclaimer that I am not some sort of professional gamer at all. I am a filthy casual, as it were. Glad to be a casual. I have 3 kids, a wife, a house, 3 animals, a career. Like, it's the amount of craziness, it has been insane. And honestly, just me making videos of this stuff, talking about PC hardware, computer gaming. I'll make videos on other stuff eventually as well. This is just almost therapeutic time for me. This is just me making videos for the sake of doing it, because I want to do something, just that I've decided to do. And in a way, it's kind of trying to just put something positive out there for other folks to consume. Maybe it gives them something that they can use. Maybe it's informative. Who knows? But we're just trying to do good in the world, man. That's what we're trying to do here. Even if it is via a silly video game. Woo, you can see the light from my notepad as I got my notes here. All right, 5 things. So let's start positive. At its core, amazingly, Blizzard made a Diablo game here. They really did. I wasn't sure if they could do that. And what I mean by a Diablo game, I mean it feels, it looks, it sounds, it is Diablo. I would argue I get more of the sense that this is a Diablo game from just logging in and playing it than I did from Diablo 3 when I first started playing Diablo 3. It took me a while to grow into Diablo 3 from the standpoint of when they released it at the Real Money Auction House. It has very bright graphics. The art style is definitely not the same. Like, it was very... People say cartoony. I'll say arcadey. Like the... Kind of like... very... It was a very bright palette that doesn't really go with a Diablo style game. It was more, it made me feel more like I don't know if anybody, if you're watching this, maybe if you're familiar with the Torchlight series, kind of reminded me a little of that in Diablo 3. And everybody knows Diablo 3 and everybody knows what I'm talking about, but I'm still just describing what it is that I think of when I think of that art style. In comparison, this game is way darker. The graphics are massively improved. The artwork is way better, in my estimation, and it feels like a Diablo game. when I log in, I go, oh yeah, this is Diablo. Which I didn't feel that way about Diablo 3 until Reaper of Souls. Honestly, Reaper of Souls, what, 2012, I think is when that released? Holy smokes. We're old, folks. We're old and we're cold. All right. So they've really done the feel right. I logged into the public beta, and I was immediately kind of got that really good, the good part of a nostalgic deja vu would be sort of maybe the way I would describe it, of like, I've not been here before, but I've been here, and that was a really good feeling. That was a real surprise for me, that I actually got that. Second point I'll bring up, the storyline is good. Lilith coming back to Sanctuary and causing mayhem, they really did it right. The real standouts, man, sometimes they do so many in-game cutscenes now with the in-game characters. You forget that this is Blizzard, and that one of the things they hung their hats on were the crazy good CGI or like cutscenes, that explained some of the story and gave you like a whoa, And Diablo 2, that was one of the things I loved about Diablo 2 back in the day, was the cutscenes were so good. Really, really good. I don't know if anybody will ever beat Diablo 2. What was the I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember some of the Diablo 2 cutscenes. They're talking about the Wonder and stuff. Some of those were just amazing, and people maybe won't get it today. The younger generation, like, those probably look corny to them today, but back then we were like, oh my god, this is amazing. I have to go get to the next act and see what happens. I sort of started to get that feeling a little bit about this game, and that made me very excited and very happy. They were very well done. I gotta say that the voice acting has been superb. Lorath, Lilith, Elias. I kept wanting to creep up my my volume to listen to it, and father of three, wife, 3 animals, crazy loud house a lot of the time. Speaking of that, there's my dog. Oh, you're killing me, bud. Man, I do want to make my corgi the unofficial mascot of my channel, because he's a chunk, and I made this druid and named him Chonk in his honor. So, anyway, the where was I? Voice acting. It really brings it a bit alive when the voice acting is good, and the voice acting was really good in this. So I really want to point out those folks. No telling how many takes they did in order to get stuff right, but it was awesome. And the fact that I didn't have to hear, if anybody played Diablo 3, you know what I'm saying? The fact that I didn't have to hear Tyrael talk about his tummy ache anymore and play a Diablo game, yes, that's been great. So I've enjoyed that quite a bit. So at its core, it's a Diablo game. The voice acting, the storyline. I will probably play through the storyline again, which may be the first time I do that in a huge, long amount of time, is I may actually play the storyline a second time. That's how good it was. And try to pick up on things maybe I missed the first time. That's great. Like, that's really good. That I normally in video games I don't concern myself with the storyline again, and it may be a bit before I go and revisit that, but I probably will. So very good, enjoyed it. All right, now number 3. Very surprised by how much I like the open world. Sanctuary is a pretty neat place to explore. Exploration was really good. I really like Strongholds. Strongholds, the way they did it in this game, they got their own little stories. Really cool. I like Helltides. I like the Tree of Whispers. Sort of like almost like a bounty system. Like, hey, this zone's got this stuff going on. Run around, take out these mobs, do these things. So there's stuff to do. So that's good. I wouldn't consider these things fully like in-game things. These are supplemental, ways of getting gear, experience, that sort of thing. I hope that they add some more variety to it here and there. But as something to come in, do, pick up, drop, that sort of thing, these things are really cool. I think Strongholds are about the right filler, and what I mean by that is there's something that they don't take as long as a dungeon, but they're longer than just a quest. They're like 3 little mini quests put together with a little storyline in an area, and then it changes the area after you do it. It's really good. I know a lot of people have been very high on the Strongholds, and I think Blizzard, if you're listening, Sanctuary is a big place according to you. I think more of that would be good. Even maybe a system where maybe something's a little more dynamic, like maybe we take it over, maybe the demons come and take it back, and they do different stuff to try and keep us from getting back in. I don't know, you could play with that, but Strongholds are definitely a strong suit in this game, and I think it's because it is something, it's appetizing because it does make a change in the game. Sometimes you get a new waypoint, sometimes you get various new things that aren't just about EXP and loot. They have a lot of EXP and loot, which is good, because you're killing elites and stuff. But the fun is, to me, it's that filler kind of gap thing of it's not quite as long as a dungeon at all. It's probably maybe like the first half of a dungeon length, roughly. But it's something you can go in, it makes a change to the map, and it's pretty good. And the little stories they tell, too, are pretty awesome. And a lot of people have been... I've actually seen... there was one YouTube channel, I think, literally just talking you through those stories, and that was his whole video. And he was sort of role-playing to it almost. And it was like, well, that's actually kind of cool. I'm not somebody who gets into that stuff that often, so well done. Now, that said, one consequence of the way they've done the open world is that it feels more MMO-ish. So if you don't like the way MMOs play and feel, then these things may not be... they're good, but the having to always be online to do them is kind of a detriment. That's a downside. But at least, if everybody recalls, we had to be online for Diablo 3. At least with this, we're online all the time, but we're getting dynamic events, world bosses. We're getting these changing events that basically sort of give us something in return, in my opinion, for having to always be online. So that's at least something back. I still think it's weird because by and large it's a single player game. I think I've partied up maybe 10% of the time I've played, 15% of the time, tops. But it's fun to come across a world boss, everybody's beating it up, and you jump in. I haven't gotten to jump in on one yet, but I have like Helltides and what is it, Legion Invasions? What is that? Legion Gathering. I forget what the actual event is. But basically, you run around the world sometimes, you see little things in your map, you're like, what's that? And you go over there and everybody's getting ready to lay a beat down, and you help them out. So that is at least something to exchange for the fact that this is not an offline game. I wish there was an offline mode that you could do some things, even when the game wasn't up or it was in maintenance. But I get it, in a way. It's a trade-off. Everybody's going to have their own opinions of how that goes. It could potentially be a downside for you. It's definitely not going to take place in one of your Elder Scrolls games that you can play offline anytime soon, unfortunately. But but that's that. So, um, let's see. Okay, so now we're going to get into some more not so great potential, maybe not so great stuff about it. So, two things that I am a little annoyed by, I would say. So the game appears to have very active devs, which is good. However, we're not working on improving the game right now. We're fixing things. And that's a big difference. And we're fixing things. And meanwhile, while we're trying to fix stuff, I've got the game shop popping up messages about how they got new skins and stuff out there. So here's the deal. There's a little part of me that is like, rather than put this thing here, right, and have it up here bugging the hell out of me, putting notifications like, hey, we got new stuff for sale, because we got to make the monies. What about, here's the thought, what about actually fix the game? This game has had a couple bugs. They just released a huge patch. I think it was late yesterday. We got word that a huge patch went out to basically fix various issues with the game running. For a while, they had barbarian loot dropping for druids, which basically is like the loot table is broken. They had an issue in which may still have it. I will have to go test, but you could get stuttering and jittering going between zones because it was basically filling up the memory VRAM buffer. I mean, it wasn't releasing any RAM. It was just building, maxes out your RAM, and then it chugs as you go from like zone to zone. Seemed to really do it. There was some crashing. I think there were some in-game quest bugs here and there, like a bunch of stuff going on. Specifically the rogue, like there was a rogue specific class quest chain that I think was bugged as well. So we got bugs and we got problems and stuff. And I get annoyed that, well, the gift shop is working just fine, and not only that, but we had to put this this shop button right here, next to clan social collections map. They're trying to put this in a way to normalize that it's inside the game, and this really irritates me. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just me. If they'd have put it on this menu, I wouldn't have been quite as annoyed. I don't think I would have been quite as annoyed. But I'm annoyed because it literally has its hotkey. They literally put a hotkey to get to the shop. And it will, if something new comes out, there's a little deal here, and you have to click on it to make it go away. I'm kind of irritated that I paid $70 for this video game. That's not good enough. We've got to have this thing popping up and alerting me that new shit is in the shop, excuse my language, that I need to go pay for, that I'm not going to. I don't care if my character runs around in garbage bags, as long as it does the same amount of damage. And they have at least included plenty of cosmetics in the game. There's plenty of free stuff you can get to drop and all that. I'm just irritated because it's popping up in my face. If you're going to do it, fine. But for those like me who want no part of the in-store microtransaction shop, you are breaking my immersion in what you're doing and what I'm trying to do by putting this here and giving it a frickin' hotkey. Get out of my face. So that's something I'm pretty passionately against, especially when they have to release mega patches with tons and tons of fixes for any number of things that are wrong with the game. So that is definitely something that I'm not too keen on. And it was one of the reasons why I didn't pre-purchase this game. And I was even on the fence in the first place if I was going to purchase it, because if they would have tied any character power, and if they do in the future, if in the future they say, well, if you go here, you'll level faster than everybody else with XP, we're not just going to give you some things that you'd get anyway. We're going to make it to where this is actually something that if you pay money for, gives you an advantage. I'll probably stop playing the game. I'll do that on purpose, because other games out there beckon that won't do that to me, especially not when I've paid $70 for the privilege of entry. So just a heads up on that. I personally found that extremely irritating. I'm willing to purchase game content, so if they come out with an expansion, if they come out with new storylines, new zones, new things to do, I'll probably purchase that. I'm okay with that. Like if next year they come out with an expansion to this, then we'll take a look at that then. If they come out with like a character class pack, that's technically in my eyes new content, so if it's priced appropriately, I'll get it. But the thing I'm not going to do is buy their little cosmetics. I'm not going to tolerate if in the future some sort of power to dollars thing kind of comes about. Like I'm not gonna entertain that. So a little bit irritated that the polish of the game wasn't there like it should be for just a big title they've worked on for years and years and years. Not really acceptable in my opinion. And then the shop, whilst they're trying to fix things, popping up and going, by God, we have new things that you can buy though in this game that's not fully functioning yet in certain ways, is extremely annoying. So that was a little feedback. Last thing, and I've been rambling for, gosh, I don't even know how long now. Holy cow, 22 minutes. Sorry, y'all. We'll get to the final point. Okay, so the big things coming up in this game. You have the Battle Pass, you have Seasons, End Game, and the Grind. So I'm only level 56. I haven't gotten into the super end game yet. We're at this weird kind of mid game point in World Tier 3. I've got some sacred items. It's going to be a couple more levels, then maybe I can start taking shots at that capstone dungeon to get into World Tier 4. But the thing I don't like is it's very convoluted. It's too expensive and ridiculous to go play with skill points. To go play with Paragon points, to go play with your gear. It's too much of a time investment. The only folks that have the ability to come into this game and experiment and goof around are the folks that do it for a living, basically. I'm not a fan of this. I don't actually, myself, I don't like the crazy Paragon board thing. I don't like, I'm not a huge fan of putting points into something that gives you 5% of this or 5% of that. Or 5 this, 5 that, as a static bonus. Diablo 2 is an example. So in one of the final patches of Diablo 2, that I thought was like one of the greatest little ideas ever, is basically the talent tree for, like, if I recall, like for paladins, right? Paladins had all the resistances for like cold resist, fire resist, poison resist. And when you put a point into poison resist, it gave you, in return, damage to certain skills. Well, maybe not poison resist, but like cold resist, you could pump up cold resist and get some extra damage to your cold skills. And it gave us synergy. I love synergies. Synergies are fun to play with. And that was one of the things I was like, oh, that's great. Like you can put points over here and get some sort of passive thing, but that passive thing is pumping up the active thing, you know? So that was kind of cool that these two things synergize. But now I've come to the opinion that while that is great, the talent tree in this game is... So here's your start to your Paragon board. I'm still trying to decide whether or not to move forward with certain things, so that's why I haven't put it here. I'm playing around with it. But if you look at the skill tree, this thing is weird because it's got like, okay, here's all your generators, here's all your core skills, right? Here's all your what is this? Defensive, you know. But like, some of these things build on other, but this talent tree makes it very hard to see what synergizes with what, really, because it's down this stick line thing. I do like the fact that there is a talent tree. I love talent trees. But how come even in this talent trees it's just so passive, you know? Everything is, nothing really, when you get down to it, the only things that make a change to the buttons you press and how you do this are the basic, the core, defensive, companion. You know, there's other wrath skills and whatnot, and there's active abilities, I guess, everywhere, but it just seems like so much of this is dedicated to passive stuff. It doesn't really change a lot. And that's in the talent tree. You go on the Paragon, and I mean, everything is like 2% resistance to all elements, 5 dexterity. So they made this humongous system, and I'm just not a giant fan of it. I'll figure it out. And there's all these little items that you can get for your Paragon tree, like the glyphs and stuff. But here's the deal. It's very convoluted. And it takes massive amounts of time to get all the items and things you need for it. On top of, the grind is insane to get gear. The seasons are going to make you restart your character. In the season, you're going to start from level 1. You're going to lose a lot of the renown bonus that you got, which renown is this crazy thing where you grind out stuff with different geographical locations, Fracture Peaks, Scotsglen, all of these map areas. You grind out these things with these map areas. It takes a while. And you have to go get your gear again. You're trying to do, like, it is a massive, massive time sink is what I'm trying to get to. And at the end of it, that's supposed to be what the season is about. And I think one of the things that was introduced back in Diablo 3 that was, in a way, good that they needed to introduce in this game is make some sort of competition that it's not just about who levels to 100 fastest. Not just who can knock out all that stuff the fastest. There needs to be, for lack of a better way to put it, some sort of rift running contest, or something outside of just leveling and doing the grind to do as an in-game, like, okay, I've gotten to this point, I've got this guy who's all hopped up and he's got all of his skill talent points and all of his things. Now what do I do with this character? And right now there's not much, basically. And that's kind of one of the things that the folks that get to max level are already experiencing. The professionals are like, well, I guess I'm going to level up something else because I got nothing else to do. That's not really a good design for, say, seasons. The other tough part about it is the folks that do this for a living there are plenty of people out there with them that they're already level 100 or they're the upper levels, and they basically are done. They've got their in-game build, everything locked in, and that's what they're running into. And as time goes on, us casuals will more and more run into that same barrier. So hopefully they're going to address that. I don't like the fact that, and I've never liked the fact that a lot of builds are just locked behind itemization and different powers on gear that you have to get to drop. That's a very rare drop rate. And what I mean by that is I don't get to play the game the way I want to play it until I get this drop. So that part I don't really like, but that's sort of like in Diablo now, and it's kind of been for a long time. But it used to be, like, say, for example, Diablo 2, you just built your character a certain way and then you played it. And then hopefully you got drops that accented that playstyle that you want to perpetuate. So take that for what you will. Leveling feels weird as part of this, as part of the grind. When you level up, everything around you levels up, and so you get in this awkward state where you level up to a certain extent and feel less powerful. That's something I think they need to end up addressing. And part of that is build and gear. It's a very weird casual experience. On the one hand, it's casual friendly, and on the other hand, the only way that you're going to really sort through this stuff is you're going to have to go get a guide. You're going to have to go to Icy Veins. You're going to have to go, Wowhead, Diablo fans probably. You're going to have to go somewhere and get into a guide and find out how to play, basically, in order to do it. That to me is unfortunate. I really wish, there was some way that folks could experiment with builds, put different combinations of things together, and actually experience that. But the way that this game is made, I just don't think you're going to see it from anybody except for the influencers and the folks that just have nothing else better to do except for make videos, or make guides. And that's it. So that's kind of it. PvP is also a thing, but I don't really. I think that's going to be for a while. It's just going to be a side deal. I'm not really that concerned with it. But that's pretty much it. So that's kind of like my 5 things. Man, I've mumbled along. I'm gonna just basically kind of do a quick summary. And I'll let you guys get back to your day. I've also got another video I'm going to make. The RTX 4060 reviews are out. Oh boy, so here we go. That's going to be, I can't wait to start talking about that. But needless to say, I really like the game. I think it does have the right amount of new stuff, nostalgia, and it's modern. Everyone to their own, though. I mean, it's not going to be for everybody. It has some large concerns. I am both hopeful and pessimistic at the same time. I think that we're playing, I hate to say it like this, but we're playing a post-launch beta is what we're playing. I really hope that by Season 1, and I hope that they have the stones, if they need to postpone Season 1 for a week or two in order to make sure that things are right, if they really need to. I think Season 1 is going to be a big make or break thing. You have a lot of players right now. If you don't make the right decisions about what carries over from the Eternal Realm into Season, in Season 1, you're going to lose a lot of players. And part of that is because you didn't really implement anything to give us that feeling of, oh, okay, this is some little contest or game we can get into when we're done leveling and fully equipping our characters. And you made the leveling and equipping of our characters too long and drawn out for casual folks to even get to that point in the first place. And I, for example, don't even know if, because I'm starting to have other things intrude in my life, I'm going to be too busy. I may not get to the end game by the time the first season rolls around, even. So that's frustrating. I think those things can be addressed, though. I think they need to be addressed, but they need to be addressed in a hurry, because if you want your little dang shop to do well, you need people in the game. If you want people in the game, then you're going to need to address it so that way people like me continue to play the game and don't just ignore it once a season comes out, because I'm like, I'm not going to level this character from 1 to 100, and while doing so I have to redo all of the renown in the game, whilst basically having to re-equip him, do all the things. I get the allure of seasons is being able to maybe start over with a new character, and that's great. But we got to really, like, I'm hoping that the quality of life comes around. I really do, before the first season, because it is going to get hammered pretty hard. And it's going to end up being a Diablo 3 situation where a lot of people like me just say, well, I'm going to go do other things that offer me a good opportunity for the amount of time I have to invest, fun, and I'll come back to this when they figure it out, because it just feels so unpolished. And I like the game, and I hope that they don't mess around. They figure this out. So anyway, that's it. Like and subscribe if you would. If not, then that's cool. Leave a comment if you'd like. I cannot believe I rambled on for 37 minutes. I really apologize, guys. I was struggling to get all my thoughts together there. It's early in the morning. When I finish my coffee and get on that second cup of coffee, I'm going to make a RTX 4060 video. So stay tuned for that. Anyway, everybody have a great day, good week, and we'll be talking to you in the next one.